I got to talk. I got to tell what I feel. I got to talk about my life as I see it. Biggie. Biggie.
Oh, there we go. Nice. I just had a scare. I'm not gonna lie. Well, the only reason that that the music and the blank screen went on for so long just now is because my laptop froze up as soon as I hit record. And then all of a sudden I couldn't click on anybody, on the screen here to like kind of bring them up. Oh my god. Anyways,
of course.
Yeah, this is no better way to do it. If it wasn't for technological difficulties, I don't think we'd be who we are. But oh, Ross, your mic, Ross, your mic. Ross, your mic.
On brand.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, see, there were
difficulties. We wouldn't be who we are.
So, it's a Sunday morning. Technical difficulties come with it, you know?
Yeah, hey, you're right.
Sunday morning of a long weekend.
The last day of a long weekend. You're right. Yeah.
Yep.
Sunday morning. Yep. I've been off since Thursday. So but I'm not complaining.
I've been off since Tuesday, so it's been even longer for me.
Tuesday?
Yes, sir.
I thought it was bad that my job gave me Thursday off. I was like, Thursday? Why do we need Thursday off? But whatever, I'll take it. You know what I mean? We had our little
Hey, always take a day off.
Yeah, whatever. I'll take a paid day off. Oh, Ross, you're like freezing. Oh no, there you go. You're back. Sorry. All right, let me get rid of this intro music because we've had enough of this. I think we're here. Let me see what we got. Let me just go ahead and get this show started. I guess I introduce everybody. I know we've got a more masculine face here as a third, as opposed to Emily's. But ladies and gentlemen,
a little more masculine, at least.
Yeah, just a lot more masculine than Emily's. Oh, but let's see, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I'd like to introduce you to your favorite podcaster's favorite podcast. This is Get It How You Live with a U. And you see a familiar face, my main man Ross. You've got me, Saul, here holding it down. And we've got our FNF. Oh, I can't do it because I'm like in the screen, but he's over this way. Our main man Brock holding it down. Where, Brock, you're in New Hampshire, right? Is that where you're still at?
I am. I am in New Hampshire.
All right,
just waiting for AOC to hopefully run in the New Hampshire primary in, a couple years here. That's all we're holding out hope for.
I would love nothing more than something like that to happen. I'll throw that out.
Oh, my job is pretty aware that I might be quitting if she's running.
Okay. All right. Nice. Geez, I don't know. Well, let me. It's been a minute, so honestly, I kind of want to know what's been up with you, Brock. Like, you're up there. Yeah. Kind of tell us what's been going on with yourself.
Yeah, just lifting heavy circles to deal with our crumbling democracy. So, it is fun times. Personal life can be doing, is doing pretty well, but you turn on the news and you listen to anything going on and you're immediately like super depressed and you're like, oh man, just constantly berated with bad news all the time. But we can try to just stay focused on controlling what we can control, right? So thinking a lot about how I really hope we get a really great candidate here in 28 if we have elections in 28. We don't even know, but yeah, besides that, what I can control is going all right.
Good. That's all you can worry about, right? Is control what you can control. That's definitely something I've been trying to practice. And I'm glad you said that about the elections, because I've been saying that in a couple of podcasts. Like, people like our last episode with Ariel. I guess kind of the premise of that episode was almost like, is the outrage justified? And I'm like, yeah, it kind of is, because we might not know what's going to happen with our voting rights and the elections, especially after what was passed in that bill that just passed.
And I mean,
all
we're
the
already seeing so much like tearing apart of democracy. I mean, I was thinking about this past week, because before the election, I forget some clip, but some podcast Elon Musk was doing. He was like, "Oh, well, I'm fucked if Kamala wins. Like, I've been so big and out and support of Trump and all this and going on." And of course, now you have this week Trump saying that he's looking at potentially deporting Elon, and you're like, yeah, this is the problem. This is the problem with living in an authoritarian state. It's just not that oh, hey, if it's my guy, it's fine. Look at the history of authoritarians. They turn against people in their circle all the time. And if you break down the rule of law, then they can get rid of whoever they want to get rid of. Not saying that those people they get rid of are good people otherwise, but like Stalin did this all the time. Hitler did this all the time. And that to me is just, showing how the rule of law in America is just getting torn apart, because it's like, oh, you've got a guy in there who can just, his whims determine what the rule of law in the country is at that moment.
Absolutely.
Stuff, I know.
Yeah, absolutely. No, but you're spot on. Ross, what's up, man? He's not going to be available till the end of this month. Just disappearing on us on your lavish trips over here and stuff. Like, what's happening here? No. I'm kidding. Oh no, the mic, Ross. I can't hear you. Is it just me? Is it? Oh no. Uh-oh. I don't know if I can hear anybody.
I mean, I think
I can hear you, Brock.
I can't hear Ross either. Ross, I don't know what's going on over there.
We can't lose you. See, that's the man. That's the man trying to silence another black man's voice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I won't stand for this.
I mean, hey, at least if you're a black man with a shit ton of money and power, you can get off of some pretty big charges still. So
yeah, we're definitely going to be talking about that as soon as we can figure out what's up with Mike, with Ross's mic over here. I just got to make sure it's not me either. So let me go ahead and check my soundboard. Oh wait, I guess he's putting on the headphones.
Can you hear me though?
Oh, and we can hear him.
Yes, sir.
Bam.
Yes, sir.
We got him.
We're back. All right.
We're back. Ross, tell me about these luxurious vacations you're going on.
No luxurious vacations, just taking some time off. It's been some time since we actually went somewhere, so we decided to just take a little road trip, and hopefully weather won't be too bad or anything of the sort to mess us up. So we're doing that. I also want to put a little disclaimer out. I have, as you can see, I'm not in my usual recording space. I have a cat right next to me. The incomparable Rosie.
Is that your cat?
And he does whatever he wants.
Hey, so, Rosie, you do it.
Yeah. So, whatever difficulties we encounter as we are recording, please forgive and bear with us. It's Rosie's fault, but Rosie's the homie.
All right. Well, if Rosie's the homie, I mean, we can't really get that mad. Can you pick up Rosie? Can we see Rosie real quick, or is Rosie gonna go ham? If you
y'all be demanding, man.
Yo, we want to see Rosie, bro.
Look, Rosie's like, no, man, I'm not trying to be on camera.
Nah, too late. You can't talk. You can't
Rosie
talk about
has agency. Rosie has agency. See, Rosie got the wire. That is a
legit cat.
Yo, big man do big things,
bro.
Yeah, but no, Rosie's the homie. Cool cat.
Man, yeah, that is a nice looking cat.
Just focused on whatever he wants to do, so he's not really paying attention to me or anything else. But he'll be coming around. You might see him at some point, just trying to roam behind me and whatnot. But it is what it is. So
Rosie's
carry on.
allowed to go where Rosie wants.
Yeah,
Bro,
yeah.
Ross just reminded me of Inspector Gadget. You remember the Claw? Was that his name? Like he had the cat
No,
there. You never saw his
Doc-
face.
So was that his name, the Claw?
I don't know.
Because I remember, because I used to watch Inspector Gadget, but in French, and his name was like Dr. Gang or Dr. Gun. You know, so what is the name of the villain? Yeah. Somebody look that up.
Inspector,
What is
I'm
the
looking
name
it
of
up
the
right now.
villain?
Hold on, I'm looking it up right now. Inspector Gadget, bad guy, Dr. Claw.
So it was Dr. Claw.
Dr.
I grew up
Claw.
with Dr. Claw. Wouldn't make sense in French, so that's why he was Dr. Gun. Okay, yeah.
All right, I'm gonna call you Dr. Claw from now on. Anyways, Dr. Claw. It's good to see you guys, like I was saying earlier, man. But let's get into the first topic. I kind of wanted to talk about this. We got this bombshell of a what's the word I'm looking? I can't even remember the word I'm looking for. Trial verdict. There we go.
Mhm.
We got the verdict on the Puff trial.
We can't let our legal expertise fall totally off without having Emily here.
Right.
I know.
Right.
And we'll probably go back. We'll probably go back and talk about it a little more once Emily's back, you know, for that reason. But listen, it's hold on, let me make sure I get the phrase right or the saying right. It's not a Rico, it's a Frico. Is that, is that what they were saying?
Yeah, that was a celebration.
You can't put them. You can't put them in jail. They're selling T-shirts outside of the courthouse in the city. They are drenching themselves in baby oil outside of the courthouse in the city, like supporters of this. Let me, Ross. What do you think about this? Because and I'll be the first. Ross brought this Puff Daddy thing to light for us like well over a year ago. I want to say, like this was wild. So
so what are you asking me? What about the verdict?
I mean, I guess like how do you feel about the verdict? Like what? Yeah, and the reactions to the people out there with the it's a Frico, not a Rico, or whatever. You know what I mean? T-shirts and all this baby oil.
The reaction. Stuff. Okay, I'll start with the reaction. The reaction is disappointing, but not surprising, right? There's, and how can I explain that in a way that makes sense? There's this, I think, okay. There's this, this veil as far as like when it comes to celebrity, right? When it comes to celebrity, there's this veil that not so much that they can do whatever they want, but I feel like people are aspirational in that this easily could be me. Or one day I can aspire to be that guy, you know, so that there's a little like not beef, but there's a little where like certain things are just like they're sights of what these people are doing or what that person is doing is a little veiled, right? And so we're talking about a guy who for years made us dance, right? He had like great songs, amazing music. We can't complain about that. And I think that that kind of allowed folks to give him license to do whatever he wants. We know that the shit he did was fucked up, but because it's Puff and he's done so much, quote unquote, for the culture, it's allowed for him to do these things, right? Like when you read about what's happened, like you're kind of like, yo, these things really did happen. And credit to the defense. The defense kind of made it out to sound more like like it was a domestic violence case, right? It's like, well, no, you know, this is a love story. And yeah, you know, he's a little violent sometimes. He's a little passionate about this, that, and the third at times. But you know, it's just these things. And so people reacting that way, it's kind of like, to me, it's one of two things. Either you want to be like that, right? To have that kind of power to where you can do whatever you want to anybody, or you have someone in your life that have done these things, who has done these things rather, and you're used to protecting them. And we all have, well, not we all, but there's many families, there are many situations where There's that uncle who's like, don't leave the kids around him. There's that cousin who's like, likes to put hands on people, things like that. But because they're our family member, we kind of like let shit like that slide. And I feel like that's how Puff has been viewed as far as the way people have been responding, right? They're trying to take a black man down, or, you don't get that kind of energy when a white guy does it. It's like, let's say that is true. Does it make it okay because he's a brother for him to do these things? And my answer is no. So that's my views on the people's response, right? Now, when we're talking about the verdict itself, I'm not surprised by the verdict. And the reason why I'm not surprised by the verdict is because a couple of days prior, we know that the prosecution started dropping charges, right? And they started dropping charges because they probably felt like, you know what, we're not going to be able to stick. Those charges are not going to stick. We're not going to be able to get him convicted on those. So let's hold on to these 5. Now, a lot of times we talk about like, rich people get away with this, rich people get away with that, blah, say blah, say blah. And that's true. But I think that we lose sight of why rich people get away with so much. And the reason why is because these cases get brought out, right? They throw the book at him and hopefully something will stick. But throughout the case, throughout the trial, these people, the prosecution, will go to you and hope that you are willing to plead out, right? So, for example, if I was hit with those charges, whether I'm guilty or innocent, I'm more likely to cop a plea because I cannot afford for this trial to go the distance. And that's literally what it is. It's not so much that rich people get away with stuff. No. It's that rich people have the means to see the trial through, because that's costing him a lot of money. I can easily say that he spent at the very least $10 million to $20 million on his defense, right? And that's what it is. If they and so they kept coming to him for him to cop a plea. And we hear all the time, the feds have a 97% conviction rate or whatever that number is. And the reason why is because usually when they come to you with this overwhelming evidence, but also with like, hey, this is the amount of years you are facing, you're going to be like, shit, I can't, like, if this happens, if number one, I don't have the money to go all the way. And if I do get convicted, then, and so, my man had the means to see it through. Did they make a great case? I didn't follow it as much as I could, but I would argue that based on the things that I've seen, I feel like they did make a great case. But we also have to remember that there's a certain stigma. I think Rosie's tail was just on here. Anyways, there's a certain stigma that that comes with being a woman in these United States. There's a certain stigma. There you go. That comes with being a sex worker in these United States. And so notice how he was convicted of travel or transportation for the purpose of prostitution, but he wasn't convicted of trafficking, right? So it's like, yeah. He was bringing prostitutes in and out of state and other countries, but whatever the hell happens over there, that's what these people signed up for, right? Why didn't Cassie leave? And we have to remember that those people, those 12 members of the jury, they're people just like us. So they could be just as impressionable as anybody else when they hear these stories, right? They showed that video of him beating Cassie up. But again, the defense framed it as, hey, this guy, this is just a lover's quarrel. It's not like this guy is running an enterprise. And if we're being honest, the RICO charge was a bit lofty, because if you're saying if you're hitting somebody with a racketeering charge, then you're saying they're the head of a criminal organization, right? When I hear RICO, I'm thinking John Gotti, I'm thinking Goodfellas, right? Henry Hill. So then there's usually someone who is part of that organization, and then that someone is able to like give give details and the things of like what this guy's done. And then they have wiretaps. So, you have like recordings of John Gotti ordering Sammy the Bull to do this and do that. And then Sammy the Bull comes into the courtroom and he's like, yes, on this call, he was telling me to go take out this dude. Well, what does it mean to go take out this dude? Oh, he means to kill him, right? There was none of that in the case. So the racketeering, again, lofty, one of those charges that if you ain't got the bread, you're like, yo, let's cop a plea on this. But because you're like, you know what, my man put up his house in Miami, right? $50 million. Boom, put that up, or one of his houses in Miami. I don't know his financial dealings, but he put up a house and it was like, boom, that's going to pay for this, that's going to pay for that. And so yeah, it's the fact that he had the money to see it through. And also the idea of the RICO was a bit lofty because it was just him. It was just one man, and then they didn't show other members of his criminal organization or anything like that. But as I usually say, I yield the rest of my time because I could go on and on and on about that.
Yeah, Brock, I'm gonna go to you, Brock, because I wanna just kind of hear what you have to say about it all. And I guess what you've heard, kind of Ross's feeling on the whole trial too, as well.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely hear Ross's point about it not being straight up that he was a rich man, but that he had the resources to be able to get the best legal minds on his side to be able to drag out this long and lengthy process. And I mean, for me, and obviously this is kind of skewed by my view of the whole United States at the moment, is that, in the Diddy case, we once again see that, there are two different sets of rules for people in America, and it's those with, immense means and those without. And that's definitely what we're seeing, in this case as well, because Diddy's able to, carry out this case even before the case gets there. He's able to pay Cassie, I believe the amount was $20 million to settle that civil lawsuit that she filed against him. And, it's the same as, how different it is if you get audited by the IRS, as one of us here on this podcast gets audited by the IRS, or somebody with the means gets audited by the IRS, because the IRS sees us as an easy win. They'll tell us what we, underpaid or whatever. And we are going to be so terrified by the potential downsides of us losing any audit that we will immediately roll over and give them whatever they want. When somebody with the best attorneys, the best accountants, is able to continue to have their offshore funds, to continue to have, this lifestyle that we could not even imagine, and not pay their fair share in taxes. And, we're seeing the continuation of this with the passage of, the big bullshit bill this past week, that we're just seeing more and more a society that is really separated. And I mean, it felt like, I think for a moment, with the Me Too movement, we thought that there was some, reality where, the law was actually impartial, and we could see, rich, powerful men face consequences for their actions. But that's just not the world we live in. You might have seen a few isolated cases that made people think that way. But even a lot of those cases, we've seen that, they've been overturned when they've been appealed. And how these, people who were supposedly canceled are actually doing great still and making a insane amount of money. And, to me, that's what this whole case was, is that, I also, did not follow it super closely because, I don't follow, growing up in Florida when, we were growing up watching the Casey Anthony trial on TV every single day. I think when I was 19, 20 years old, to now being, everything else from that has kind of gone downhill on an entertainment value wise. But I was not surprised at all that Diddy got off. I feel like this is, if you've been paying attention to how the world is, this had to be the expected outcome, I think, for anybody who was going in it with eyes wide open.
Yeah, no, excuse me. No, let me mute. Well, next time I do that, Jesus, coughing on the mic.
That button's hard to find sometimes. So
yeah, okay. Tell me about it. No, but I didn't follow it as closely as I should have probably either. I mean, I just got the highlights from like the news every now and then or whatever, clips on social media. I know that there was definitely a lot of misinformation as well going around on this trial. It was just like weird stuff. I don't know if you guys heard somebody or they said something about some sort of tunnels, Diddy tunnels. He had like tunnels connecting him to like Michael Jackson's house or something. All this crazy stuff. And and bro, and I bring this up because somebody literally told me that at a lunch I was at. And like, I had to stop them right there. And I opened up my phone and I was like, we're going to Google this right now. We're going to get down to the bottom of this and I'm going to fact check this, this isn't, I mean, this is whatever. It's part of the story. They're like, where'd you get that? Where'd you get that information from? Like, what's your source? And I was like, MSNBC just said and Snope, you know what I mean? Like, that's just a rumor. Like, that's not real. And two people at that lunch literally were like, oh, no, I don't believe anything MSNBC says. They'd rather believe some weird rumor about weird tunnels connecting Diddy to Michael Jackson than an actual verified news source saying this is just hogwash. Like, where are you getting this information from? Like, and I also had to bring up that Fox had to pay out $780 million or whatever for false claims. They didn't believe me about that until I pulled up an article from Fox saying it. And I was like, it's right here. But anyways, there was just a lot of weird stuff.
How people just like will believe so much nonsense these days. Dude. Like, we have access to such fantastic information at our fingertips on whenever we want it. And people just believe the most insane bullshit still.
No, it was nuts. I'm not sure. Like, Ross, did you hear any of these tunnel rumors at all or anything like that?
I have no clue what you're talking about.
Okay, Brock, did you hear about it?
I did not hear about it, but a Google search just brought up a ton of results. So I am now aware that this is a big thing. Not only to Michael Jackson's house, but also apparently there was rumors to the Playboy Mansion that he also had tunnels too.
So since you all are now plugged in with the tunnel rumors, what's the purpose of the tunnels? Like, what is that? What is that supposed to mean?
Guess that he could secretly get to those locations, but like, he's a millionaire. He can get anywhere he wants to. He does not need to secretly travel places.
Right. That's interesting.
Yeah, so I just thought things like that were kind of hilarious. I think it's funny how people could fall down into those weird rabbit holes of misinformation, of all things, like the Diddy trial, you know what I mean? Especially too, like, and not, and I had to tell him, I'm like, listen, I'm not supporting him at all. Like, I think that like he should be in jail for like.
Oh yeah, Diddy did all that shit.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I mean, didn't he blow up Kid Cudi's car? Right?
Diddy did all that shit. He blew up Kid Cudi's car.
Bro, like
he was all up in my man's crib. He kicked his dog. I don't know if he kicked the dog. I'm just saying. He was all up in that man's crib. Like, yes, Diddy did all that shit. I think so. That was very surprising to me. Because I was already kind of erring on the side of caution with him. Right. But then when those things started coming out, I was like, oh my God, we didn't know who this man was. Like this, I think Cudi called him a Marvel supervillain. And I was like, yo, but that is exactly it. Like, you hear of the rumors of, freak offs or whatever, and you do what you do. Like, I'm not worried, whatever you do behind closed doors, that's you. But when somebody's like, nah, I'm not trying to have that, and then you still pursue, then that's the problem. I don't like that Cassie video. That was like, oh man, this dude. And so once you see that he's done that, then it's like
the Cassie video of him.
Yeah, when
hands
he beat
on
her,
right?
When he beat her up, when he beat her up at the hotel in California.
Yeah.
And then like I remember couple of years ago, and I don't remember how long ago, man. I want to say like it was like a decade or so ago. I don't know because I'm not that plugged in, but I do recall at some point that like, you know, there was like one of the big hooplas online was that there were like naked photos of Cassie that were released online, you know, that were leaked. And then it's like, man, more than likely, and I'm not going to say with 100%, but more than likely that was him letting her know, yo, I got shit on you. Like you could go wherever you want to go, but I got shit. Like she was with that man for 10 years. She was with that man for 10 years, and she was 19 when she first started being with him, which that in itself
should have been the original red flag right there for everybody.
Questionable.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
There's the reason why men go after, rich and powerful men go after young girls who don't know any better.
Jerry Seinfeld.
And how many albums did she drop on Bad Boy? Because from what I gather, I don't think she dropped any album. She might have dropped a single here and there.
Oh, she was a singer?
Yeah, man.
See, I didn't know she was a singer.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I just thought that was this guy's ex-girlfriend, the guy that introduced her to Puff.
Ryan Leslie?
Yes, Ryan Leslie.
He was her producer. Ryan Leslie was her producer, and she did some work with him. She dropped something with him, and I forgot exactly what it was.
She's a singer.
But yeah. But then from there, you know, it just gets murky, and I'm laughing because I don't know how to explain it. Like it's just
okay.
Yeah.
You know what I'm thinking is like everybody that testified against him, like, I mean, are they going to go into hiding?
Well, no.
We know how this man's gonna. Is he going to blow up all their cars?
We know his get down. Which is interesting that you say that because when the verdict was read, and then you know his defense was like, all right, yo, like let him out. Can we bond out until sentencing? And then the judge was like, nah. Nah. You yourself said that you're like because they said it, right? Like as part of their defense was again like this is a lover's quarrel.
Man.
Our client is violent. Our client does have a temper, but he's not a criminal mastermind. So you yourself said that he was violent. You yourself said that he has a temper, and now you want me to let him out because he got let go because he got acquitted of the heavier charges. So yeah, no. They definitely need to start thinking about how they move and who they move with for sure. But on the flip side, like he's definitely, or at the very least, should spend a lot of time in courtrooms over the next couple of years. Like he's about to be.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like in reality, hopefully, all these people like Kid Cudi and stuff like that who've already said this stuff are going to go ahead now and have civil lawsuits against him. Because like, you know, with a civil lawsuit, and I'm sure Emily's already talked about this a good bit, but you know, it's just a whole different standard of evidence because you only need a preponderance of the evidence to be on your side. So like they could win a civil lawsuit pretty easily if they have those, you know, like people like Kid Cudi. Obviously, Cassie's already made her money, so hopefully she's using that to disappear and get as far away from him as possible.
Which is funny, right? Like as part of their closing argument, that's what the defense said. The defense was like, "Yo, the real winner here is Cassie because she already got $30 million from Puff," and so that was again just murking up the which that's their job. So I can't even be mad.
And I mean, people do that stuff with money all the time, though. I mean, because like people get confused so much when it comes to like, oh, this person might have gotten some money from that now that they're not the victim at all.
Right.
Like, oh, clearly this is why they were doing that. And it's like,
right.
Oh, yes, it's definitely not that the rich, famous man was already doing some nonsense and getting away with stuff and like paid to try to keep this quiet and maybe don't read too much into that. Because it's the same thing. I think about this woman all the time when I was canvassing for Kamala. I remember there was this woman talking about how much money for ads Kamala had, and how clearly she wasn't on the side of working people. And it was like, yeah, I mean, she raised a shit ton of money, but like, we know which person was really arguing and fighting for the rich there. Like, don't get confused.
Oh man, this is going to be interesting. Even I mean, whatever. It's just going to be interesting. I guess we'll see what happens with these civil lawsuits.
Yeah.
I want to wait for M to get back on the show so we can talk
Mhm.
about I guess.
But in the
what,
meantime, you can start planning everybody can start waiting to go back to Diddy parties.
oh my goodness.
There's got to be a new one soon, I'm sure.
Is he even? No way. I mean, do you think he's gonna have like a celebration
That's
Diddy
what I was
party?
wondering.
Oh,
What's the freak off at the celebration party going to be?
You know what I mean? Yeah.
So here's what I understand from this trial. The freak offs were like separate events, right? It wasn't so much like, yo, we at a party and then shit starts popping off. With that said, you will have many people who will be like, yo, we'd be at this party, and then he would start to say or do things that were like, yo, questionable, right? Like you could go back to like when 50 Cent was like, yo, this dude was talking about how he wanted to take me out shopping, and then you can have like various people tell you about like, yo, we'd be at a party, and then he would say, yo, do this, and we'd be like, nah, I'm cool, and it's like, yo, do this or your career is over, things like that. So we see that in him. Like, but also, what I wanted to say was that I have no doubt that if that judge would have let that man walk out of the courtroom to await sentencing as a free man, there would have been a party that night. There would have been a party that night. Yeah, there would have been a party that night. And again, like I want to see because Puff's not going to do that much time in jail, y'all. I don't think he's going. I don't think he's going for more than 5 years, if he's going for 5 years, right? Because what he's gotten, they talk about how like what he's gotten convicted of is like a 10-year sentence for each count, but there's no minimum. Number one, and then number two, it is so like it's the violation of the Mann Act, which is again like like having a prostitute travel across state lines. What rich man doesn't understand that? You know what I mean? Like they do that shit all the time, right? And politicians, whatever the case may be. So I don't see the judge throwing the book at him. The judge does know, however, that he's a violent person, right? Mm-hmm. The judge does know that he's a danger, if not to society, but at the very least to people who he feel may have betrayed him, right? So the judge does know that much. What I do think is that whenever he does step out, there's going to be a party. What I'm interested in, though, is who is going to stand next to him at this point, right? Because is it still going to be the Rock Nation brunch crowd, or are people just going to be like, I don't know about this, or I don't know about that? That's what I want to know.
Yeah. It is going to be very interesting. I mean, it always is, who actually stays with you when those times talk with those rich people, because everybody likes to be around when everything's going well.
Yeah, but I mean, shit, man.
Would you go to the Puffy celebration release party?
No.
If you got an invite?
No. Can't do it. But to be fair, I don't think I would go at least as of 10 years ago. I don't think I would have gone to I don't think I would go to a Diddy party. Now, if you're asking me back in
man, bro. If you would listen, I'll say, and I owe Ross a lot of all right to like of the man that I am today. I owe a lot of that to Ross. Okay, our formative teenage
I don't know if that's
years.
a compliment or not.
No, it's the best compliment. The best compliment I could give this guy. You want to talk about somebody that was the coolest person on the planet. It still is, but I mean at that age too. And then I've got this guy teaching me about all this hip hop stuff that I had no idea about, because listen, not in my house at that age could I have any of these records and tapes and CDs. I didn't really listen to all that much. So I attribute all this knowledge to Ross. So if you're asking 16 and 17-year-old Ross and Saul, if you're asking 15 and 14, like, yo, you got invited to a Diddy party. You going? Oh,
Oh,
man, are you kidding me? I'd put on those ugly Tims I used to have on, put some jeans,
We going.
and head out there.
Going.
Oh my goodness. Oh, what a time to be alive. Jesus Christ. All right, moving on, and I guess getting into something a little more serious. Not that.
Yes. Well, no, that's another thing as we move on, right? What I wanted to say is taking off my tinfoil conspiratorial hat, like, yo, a lot of that to me, and of course it's not like maybe it's not planned, but the fact that it's been so like in our faces is definitely distraction from some of the other things that are going on, right? That's all I'm going to say. Carry on.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, that's perfect segue into this, because I wanted to touch on this on our last episode and it kind of got away from me. But and I give props for Brock for this name, Alligator Auschwitz, not Alligator Alcatraz. I guess we've got this this facility being built down in the Everglades, and let me get my notes out here real quick, because I kind of wanted to go over a couple of these points, or at least just see what your reactions to this, because it's bananas. So first off, the Texas contractor back during Hurricane Helen or Helene, I'm not sure how.
So yeah, it's pronounced Helene because there's an E at the end of it.
Thank you. So Hurricane Helene victims back then, he charged them $27 million for laundry. This is just to give you an idea of the kind of people that are helping build this, and getting rich off this. Thanks. For these. So let me see. SLCSO is a company. They were costing taxpayers $619,000 a week for laundry and a care facility outside of Asheville, North Carolina, in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. So now they're behind this migrant detention center in the Everglades. This facility has cost taxpayers $94 million to build so far, and an estimated $450 million per year operating budget, which is fucking wild. What's happening here? Let's see. It's funded by using FEMA's Shelter and Services Program, which is a federal pool of money specifically allocated for temporary migrant shelter and related needs. Let's see. A DHS spokesperson confirmed that Florida can request reimbursement from FEMA's Shelter and Services budget, which has roughly $625 million available for this purpose. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Let's see. We've got even conservatives out there and Trump supporters kind of speaking out against this due to the environmental impact that it's going to have over in the Everglades there. Which is, whatever. I mean, at least they're out there trying to get this thing stopped. If it's not the poor misuse of human lives and the illegal kidnappings of, some American citizens off the street, it's the environmental impact it's going to have. So we can't have this built out there.
And I mean, for me, so one of the things and why I think like calling it like, the alligator Auschwitz is more accurate than the alligator Alcatraz that they try to brand it as, is, something similar to, I don't know if you all saw that, that tweet or whatever they're calling them now from Laura Loomer, who, if you forgot who Laura Loomer is, she is the woman who was 100% having an affair with Donald Trump during the campaign and is a right-wing lunatic. Jigsaw was giving Donald Trump that sloppy toppy.
Yes,
that is 100% what was happening.
Please read the bottom of the screen, folks. Please read the bottom of the screen.
Allegedly.
Got
a scrolling marquee. Carry on, Brock, sir.
And then she tweeted out that the alligators were ready to give the alligators 65 million meals. Now, what's the problem with that number? Is one, obviously, It's not like we have the perfect number of people who are here undocumented, but the estimates for that are 11 million. What are the 65 million people in America? What could those be?
Tell us, Brock.
Latino Americans.
Yep.
That's 65 million Latino Americans, or how many people here. So Laura Loomer is talking about feeding literally every person, every Latino to these alligators. And it's like, this is the whole point. The point isn't, and the reason why you can't say, somebody who, thankfully just got to visit Alcatraz earlier this year, and it was a super cool visit. The people who were in Alcatraz, they had seen their day in court. They had their legal representation, and they were found guilty and sent to Alcatraz to serve out their sentence. You were talking about people who have not seen a judge. Remember that a lot of the reasons why you have so many migrants in America who can't be deported legally right now is simply because they've never had a date in front of a immigration judge. Instead of going about this and increasing funding to hire more immigration judges to speed up this process and get these people who are, have legitimate legal asylum claims to decide, hey, do you have a real claim or not? And then if you have one, give you status, and if not, move you back, deport you. Instead, we're talking about just continuing to house you illegally while you're here. People who have never been found guilty of anything being put into, cramped cells that do remind us all of concentration camps, both the ones that Germany ran, but also the United States when we rounded up all the Japanese during World War II. We've seen this playbook before, and that's what's happening here. And the fact that, I think in general, we've seen really the death of conservatism. Like, there are no real conservatives anymore. There just aren't. Because, this is not conservative. This is not small government. The people who, your buddy out there who, never, took any political science classes and describes themselves as a libertarian because they're a moron, can't justify this with their libertarian beliefs. This is the government holding people without cause illegally in facilities that are being thrown up without any concern for environmental regulations overnight in the state of Florida to just hold these people and make their lives miserable, because that's the point.
The place is flooding too.
Places flooding. They want people to be miserable. They want these conditions to be as close to torture as possible.
So
without it actually being torture.
So my question is then, where does that come from? Like this xenophobia, this literally, like you said, for 65 million people. So where does that come from? Why is there such a disdain for the other? That's something that I'd like to at some point get some insight on, because I don't understand.
Like, where does hate come from?
No, not what. Sure, where does hate come from? But really, like it's this disdain for and we're saying right now, Latinos, right? But there's always a disdain for the other. So I'm just trying to understand where that comes from, because one of the critiques within our circles, right? Like, as far as the diaspora, is that we're so welcoming to everybody, right? We're so welcoming to everybody. That's one of the engines of cultural appropriation, is the fact that anytime somebody says, "Oh, he's part of the family," handing out invites to the so-called cookout, right? Now we're quick to do that, but on the inverse, right? We're seeing alligator Alcatraz, right? Like, literally, we're gonna hold these people here for however long, for whatever reason, right? Instead of giving them the due process. And it's not even like, we're gonna hold them here. We're gonna hold them here, and we're gonna make sure that they suffer, right? Like, why is there a need for them to suffer? Like, bad enough you're wasting resources on building a place like this, right? As opposed to, if not comparable to the cost of running this place, I'm sure that it's at the very least more cost effective to just, as you said, hire more staff to process people, right? To process cases. Like right now, we only have this amount of judges. Right now, we only have this amount of people working for USCIS. Let's hire a couple more people so the processing can be streamlined a little more. So instead of doing that, we're going to build facilities and we're going to house people in those facilities and make sure that it's borderline, if not outright, human rights violation. So that's what I don't understand, like the need to do something like that.
Well, and it's not even have them suffer. It's have them die. Essentially, that's what they want to happen. You know what I mean? It's like, we don't care how bad the suffering is. If they die, they die. Like, that's it.
Yep.
And you know, this is the thing that I like. To me, this is one of the main points, and I'm not sure if I said this before, but it's, you know, less than 10% of these individuals that are housed, that are getting taken up by ICE, less than 10% have a violent criminal record. Okay, less than 10%. So they're not going after the bad guys. Like, they know where the MS-13 is at. They know where those gang members. They, like, trust me, the feds know where these gang members are, you know, hold themselves up. And you do not see ICE going into their territories at all to get any of them out of there. You see them going after vulnerable kids in hospitals, trying to get into schools, in churches, kids going to volleyball practice, just walking down the street. Like, it's the thing that just makes me so upset. And
Right.
then,
and I hear that, but I just want to know, where does that come from?
Oh,
like,
bro, I have no idea, because what I was going to add on to my point is, you know, the rest of these people are trying to do it the right way, right? They're trying to go through the immigration process, and then they're getting swept up at their court hearings in courts.
Yep.
You know, like, what Ross, I don't know what drives somebody to go that. I don't know why Stephen Miller is such a piece of shit human being that he wants to go after these people that are doing it the right way. And then all of a sudden, you know, Orange Cheeto Man with his executive order signs away protective legal statuses for these people, and now they're illegal because of that. I don't, what, like, why is it, I like, what, we can go back, we go back to the things we always hear, right? Like, people are afraid of what they don't understand. People are afraid of change. People are scared of you know, something they don't know, or whatever, or miseducation or misinformation. I think we're past all that. We're in an age, like a technological revolution, right? Like the Industrial Revolution. Like, we're in this technological revolution. Information travels in an instant. You can no longer claim that you don't, like you didn't know, or you didn't have a way to find out, unless you're like in some rural part of the world, you know, or the States, where you don't have internet access, I guess, or books, and you don't know how to read.
You have rural parts of the United States where people have never met in person someone who looks like you or someone who looks like me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have that,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So and you have some of those people who probably don't have access to information or internet and all that. So that's fine. Like, that doesn't bother me. What bothers me is the hatred, or at the very least the need to just push it that far. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if again, you know, we talk about like how welcoming certain people are, and I just don't understand why not you, but like the royal you in the context of our conversation are so hell bent on not only not allowing these people to have or do, but then to the extent of making sure that they suffer as well. That's what I don't understand. That's
you know what? Let's ask Brock.
The representative. That is
The
a
ultimate-
burden, sir.
The ultimate white man representative. He represents every white person in the world.
So, Brock, before you answer this, I just want you to know that this was rhetorical. But yes,
No.
go ahead, because it's really what like I'm just trying to get like where that pathology comes from. But yes, go ahead. The floor
Well,
is yours.
not to sound too much like a socialist on this podcast, but I mean, I think in reality, it's simply because, the American dream is not attainable. And instead of dealing with the structural issues of why it's not attainable, Fox News and Republicans and Donald Trump have mastered this idea of blaming the people who really should be your allies. When you look at it, there should be class solidarity and understanding that these are other poor people. Because, in a day where, you have people with so many hundreds of billions of dollars that they can buy an entire US election, even if you make $150,000 a year, you have way more in common with the migrant getting arrested who's making $15,000 a year than the person making those hundreds of millions. And I think what's interesting, and I'm sure there's a lot of much smarter people than me who have talked about this, but you think about where you've really seen this nationalized racism on this kind of style before. And you think about Germany. But Germany, I think obviously anti-Semitism is awful, but I do think anti-Semitism is an easier sell than just anti-migrant because, back in the day, because of, the long history of Christians refusing to go into banking and things like that because they were seen as not being able to give out loans with interest to other Christians, you saw Jewish people fill that void. And then, they had money. They were the people you were paying, your loans to, your interest to. So it was much easier to demonize them. But now, MAGA has successfully somehow gotten people who, are, again, living a very similar life to those migrants to hate them instead of hate the billionaires is actually controlling and holding them back from getting those dreams really actually being able to be attained. I think about, if you remember back to the election and the discussion that, because JD Vance was always the person I was like, oh, Donald Trump doesn't talk about policy, but JD Vance would be the policy person for the administration. And I remember his debate with Tim Walz, where he was saying that, what's going to solve the housing issue isn't building more housing, which we all know it's going to be kicking out these illegal immigrants from their housing. And somehow, that small amount of people is going to solve a nationwide crisis that we're having on housing. And we really saw that people just fell for this. Hey, it's easier to hate these other people than to demand that the system changes. Because, it's kind of the same line of reasoning that leads to, this model minority kind of piece that you've seen certain ethnic groups kind of take, which is, hey, I'm not white, but at least I can be better than other races. And it just makes no sense because, again, for me, as somebody who, I have direct relatives who served in every U.S. war between the Revolutionary War and Vietnam. And yet I know that even though I am, as American can be by blood, in reality, the real Americans are not people like Donald Trump that are living an entirely different existence than me. The real Americans, the Americans that I want to associate and tie myself to, are the Americans that are living an existence that are really similar to me, that are worried about paying the rent, that are worried about putting food on the table. And that's where we're seeing where it's so upsetting. I mean, I think about, my partner's parents who, love Trump, but are also on Medicare. and get government services and get food stamps and stuff that, Republicans are trying to take away from you. But man, they really, really don't like those immigrants. And it's the same as, it's like, oh, hey, at least, that those 8 trans women are no longer competing in high school sports. You can be happy, even though we're going to see these millions of people kicked off of their health care. We're going to see, 14 million people apparently die just from the USDA cuts that Doge enforced. And it makes no sense to me, because to me, class solidarity is really what makes the most sense of it all. Of like, look at people who are living that same existence as you, who understand the same struggles, the same thoughts that keep you up at night, than the people who, instead of demonizing a certain group of people because they were born somewhere else, or they didn't abide by the rules, when you don't care to abide by the rules in everyday life, yet them not abiding by the rules, and they come here because of safety and wanting to do the best for their family.
Listen,
and also, like, one thing that's never mentioned is that many of those people leave their it's kind of a catch-22, right? They leave their homeland to come to the United States because most of the time of foreign policies that the United States have towards that same country.
100%. I mean, it's the same thing as, we look at, we talk about, we just had all this stuff with Iran lately. And it's like, man, remember when Iran actually had a really great democracy before the CIA and the British government decided to overthrow it and install the Shah, and then all that backfire? Like, this is really, as they call it in the CIA, all the migration we're seeing is just blowback from, the anti-communist South American operations that we had going on for decades. And yet now that they come here, because of a result of our actions, we want to demonize them and don't even care if they make it back safely, or if they've been here for, years on end, served the government, whatever, served in the military, whatever they've done. It's not enough to overcome that one, mistake they made by coming here when we had made their homes unsafe.
Yeah.
It's truly awful. And I mean, like, I think a lot of times, like, where we are in politics now, it seems more and more like where we have one side that believes in empathy, that believes in, like, hey, like, I want to take care of my fellow person because I want my fellow citizen to take care of me if bad things happen to me. Like, that's why I support us going out and having more robust government services. It's not because I'm some, bleeding heart liberal, as they say. It's because, man, if I hit bad times, I want those services for me.
100%. 100%. This thanks for saying that at the end too, because I mean, pandemic hit, I got laid off. Guess who was getting SNAP benefits? You know what I mean? Because of that. Thank God, it helped, because if not, I would have been I would have lost weight, not in the way that I would want to have. I'll tell you that
not
right
in the
now.
Healthy way.
Yeah, not in the healthy way. So it's insane to me that you're gonna take away things like listen, I know people, and Brock, when we worked at NBA City, I know people that were working there as servers. They were still making decent money because they were hustling the crap out of that place. Okay. And they were also on SNAP benefits and food benefits and all that as well, because they needed it.
Yep.
Like it's still, you got a family, whatever it is, like it is the wildest thing to want to take all that help away from people that truly need it, just because you think you have this idea in your head that people that aren't you are taking advantage of the system, when they look exactly like you. Trust me, like you, the general you, meaning anybody. You know what I mean? Like you think it's just like Spanish or black people on food stamps. Nah, pal, it's a bunch of white people as well on food stamps. and you'd be on them too if you could jump on that train. Trust me.
And I
Like,
mean, I remember, when I did AmeriCorps, I was on food stamps when I did AmeriCorps, and it was a huge help. And you
yeah,
look at it, like, man, like, again, these people, the people who were, who the Trump administration, and unfortunately, we are an extension of us because he represents our government, sadly, are locking up in that, alligator Auschwitz, just have such a similar life to us. Like, they're people who, and I think about it, I was reading this article, a few weeks back by the New York Times, and about them, Trump administration arrested this beloved community member and mother, and who was undocumented. And, the quotes were like, "Oh, I didn't vote for this. I did." And it's like, no, you did though.
yeah.
You did. Like, you voted to take these people who, like, are doing their best and, like, literally providing services and being such a key part of our communities. You voted to lock them up, to send them to this concentration camp.
Split them from their families, to rip them apart from their families. They're doing a job that you wouldn't do for pay you wouldn't want to do it for. And then you say how outstanding of a citizen they are because they're literally cleaning your fucking spit every morning off some fucking coffee cup and letting you demand them around the place. You probably think you're asking nicely. You probably think you're just the nicest person in the world because you leave them a 50-cent tip or whatever on top of whatever it is, which is fucking garbage anyways. And now they're gone because you don't have anybody to come here and literally wipe your ass at your favorite coffee spot in the morning. And now you want to, and now you're complaining about it. I love it. I love it.
But hey, man, at least now in this, while they're giving, billions away to,
did they find a house they could move into?
Adding $3.3 trillion to the deficit, we at least, the first $25,000 in taxes on your tips are untaxed for the next couple years because it expires in 2028.
Newsflash, pal. Show me a server that claims all their cash tips.
Oh,
I'm dead serious.
Exactly. I mean, I definitely did underclaimed as a server because I knew as long as you claimed 10% that nobody was going to come and take the other. You had to have at least 10% claimed. You're fine.
That's all you had to do. I knew people didn't claim anything still. Anyways. All right. Like, I know, like, it. Oh my God. No tax on tips. This is so funny. People are just so stupid.
And that 25 grand goes fast. If you're working a serving job full time, like, guess what? You're still going to be paying taxes on your tips because if you're actually claiming all your taxes and you're working at Universal or Disney, you're making more than $25K a year on tips. I guarantee you that. Like,
just stop spending it at the bar every night. You spend half of what you make at the bar every night. Trust me, I've been there. That's what it is. I get it. You, and trust me, I'm not saying you're getting paid enough because you're not getting paid enough.
Cigars flashbacks over here,
dude. Listen, man. You and the listeners and everybody here knows how I feel about the hospitality industry and tipping and all that stuff. And it's not. It's just it's such an abuse and they take such advantage of you, the employee, where you think you're still making money hand over fist, or you're walking out with a 150 in cash, you know what I mean? Or you make that 200 a night in cash and you think, yeah, that's great. But like, there's no job security, trust. And when you're young, I guess you think that's okay. I don't know how to explain it, but just don't get caught up in the cycle. All right. So all my young servers and bartenders out there, don't get caught up in the cycle. I know you see that cool older bartender there that's been there for forever probably, and whatever, they're making all this money. You think, you know what I mean? And they have it, but they have seniority. Okay. They probably do a lot of stuff they don't get paid for anyways. Like, still not making the money they should be making.
And if they get sick and can't work, there's now no safety net for them.
Nothing.
To be able. If they need to go to the doctor, that insurance if they're getting insurance from their job, it's going to be the worst insurance possible. Like, I mean, that's why I hated even when Kamala adopted the no tax on tips stuff. I hated it because my whole thought process was like, no, literally, like, instead, maybe just get rid of the tip minimum wage.
Yeah.
Just make it where you have to, where businesses actually need to pay their employees the full amount.
Who are the guys that made South Park? Matt
Yep.
something and
Uh,
Trey whatever.
Matt Parker and Trey Stone.
Yeah, they're paying their servers at their restaurant that they
Casa
have
Bonita.
$30 an hour. Like, it can be done.
To Casa Bonita.
Yeah, it can be done. But and this is a special shout out to our homeboy Zach, by the way. I don't know, has he reached out to you about any questions?
No.
All right, I'll wait till the end. But
curious now.
Yeah, no, I'll wait till the end. Ross knows it's about this whole paying to skip the wait line system. I don't agree with it. I think it's a corporate grift. But anyways, that's a good sidetrack because we're already talking about how much I hate hotels and restaurants taking advantage of everybody. I think we should kind of hit on the fact that to wrap up the alligator Alcatraz, alligator Auschwitz thing, bad idea, bad waste of money. I don't know what's happening here. Where did we become so cruel where we're sitting here what's the word I'm looking for? Like, not commercializing, not sensationalizing, but like, applauding, like being proud of having this place that fills up full of water that they're supposedly bringing in more alligators to surround the place with, whatever. And
at the end of the day, it doesn't help anyone.
No, like we have so many.
I can't understand this celebration of pouring government resources on a project that doesn't help anyone.
We can't house veterans. We can't come up with any kind of situation. No, we can't do anything, right? We can't make rent affordable, but we can build.
It's not like you all have housing issues in Florida, though, right?
Exactly.
Housing's super easy to come by, and
it's definitely
not like you have a property insurance issue.
We don't have homeless people on the streets anymore because it's illegal to fall asleep on the sidewalk or do whatever. So hey, wherever I don't know where they're at. We couldn't build anything for them, right? Orange County over here had to say no to this proposal for a homeless shelter, down the. Hey, whatever, it's fine. Alligator Alcatraz, fucking morons. Ross, your final thoughts on Alligator Auschwitz?
No, I think I said everything I wanted to say about it. I guess another concern or point is that we also have to think about like the effect that pulling all these people would have on the economy, because whenever you're like, we're snatching some dude, you're like, oh, because he's taking jobs. Let's say that's the case, but also that dude is staying somewhere, right? So he's paying rent at a place. He's got to eat. So there's a grocery store making money off of him. If he has a car, he's getting gas. He's stopping at Wawa, 7-Eleven, all of that. And by snatching that person up, that stops. That money's not circulating anymore, right? If nothing else, like that landlord now is like, damn, how am I gonna who's gonna pay for this place?
Nah, man, some magical white couple. A magical white couple is gonna come in and rent.
And it's not even to mention the fact that he's also, those immigrants are also paying Social Security taxes, even though they can't actually ever collect those, and propping up these, the few social safety nets we actually have in America because they pay taxes and don't get benefits.
It's yeah, Ross. I don't know why they hate us so much, man. I don't know what's going on. I do like the fact, special pre-shout out to Haiti and the Haitians in Brooklyn. I don't know if anybody saw that video or not, but they definitely came out on the streets when ICE tried to show up and snatch somebody. Listen, Ross has been preaching this. Ross taught me this. You know what I mean? Like, Haiti was the first. They're the first people to revolt
successfully.
Not the
first people to revolt.
Yeah, successfully. Thank you. And get their freedom. And if ICE thinks they're gonna come into Brooklyn to try to try to round up some Haitians.
But here's
I
the
mean,
thing,
they got to come with help. They better show up with
here's the
more
thing
than
though,
I
like
don't know.
what a lot of people don't get is that it wasn't like that response wasn't an impromptu response. We're talking
No.
about people sat together. We're like,
Mhm.
okay, this is something that's happening. Let's get together. Let's figure out what we're gonna do if this happens here. And so they were ready. Like they planned it out. You had like-minded people meeting, planning, and be like, boom, this is the response if this happens. And so shout out to them.
And
Yeah.
since it was mentioned, if you're not familiar with the Haitian Revolution, because our textbooks in our history classes purposely avoid them,
Mhm.
I highly recommend the Revolutions podcast. Season 4 is all about the Haitian Revolution, and they go through and really lay out all the big players through it. Very super fascinating, and I think really shows a great way of what we were talking about earlier about using race to hold people, to separate people who should really be on the same side. You see that a whole lot there as well as you see, people who would have been who should have been fighting alongside the slaves for their freedom, fight against them because they didn't want to lose the little they had. So really fascinating and a great thing to help you understand more about the world if you have the time. Fantastic podcast.
Shout out to the Haitians. Shout out to the Mexicans too, because the Mexicans were holding it down out west in LA too. I'm telling you, Haitians and Mexicans always coming to the rescue. Always Haitians and Mexicans are always coming to the rescue. I don't know why people ain't jump on board. You know what I mean? Anyways, whatever.
Very appreciated.
Bro, it's the truth. It's throughout history. Haitians. Shout out to General Zapata. All right, from back in the day in Mexico. All right, I'd rather. What do you say? I'd rather to die on my feet than live on my knees. I think it's in Spanish it sounds way cooler. You know what I mean? But in English, that's pretty much what he's saying. He's like, I'd rather die on my 2 feet than have to live here on my knees. Having to serve you scoundrels and scumbags and mark ass busters. Speaking of mark ass busters, we're about to be some mark ass busters here in Florida when hurricane season hits. Cause yay.
Hey, the weather reports are doing great.
Yeah. For example, 67 people are dead in Texas, 11 missing from that girls' camp. And it is all due to these budget cuts from the federal government, getting rid of pretty much a bunch of scientists and meteorologists and closing down, like more specifically, this one tower place building weather research facility. I think it's in Oklahoma, where they also lead the world in is it carbon monoxide that's bad for us? Or is it carbon dioxide that we have to look out for? It's like released into the air.
Both.
Yeah.
Like volcanoes, all that stuff. Anyways, they are the only people in the world doing that. Also tracking tornadoes and storms and floods. That's why I mentioned the Texas and the 67 people dead in Texas.
I saw that Grok just got the stupid AI app for Twitter.
Oh yeah.
Just got in a fight with a bunch of MAGA people about that because if you look at it, it's just backed up that this is why the forecasts are worse now. If you've noticed how weather services in general are worse now than they were this time last year, that is why. And obviously, it doesn't mean a whole lot when I thought my barbecue was going to be clear, clear skies and beautiful day, and it ends up being rained out. But when it's these severe weather events, we need them, and we know, no matter what, Republicans and the big bullshit bills say, climate change is real. These severe weather events are going to get worse, and we're going to get more often, and we need to be able to adequately predict them so that we can avoid this loss of life that's totally unnecessary. And even though I know some people will be like, oh well, it's Texas, they voted the wrong way or whatever, so who cares? But like, those are people who are, living in a, society where they don't really get to have their voice heard. They're gerrymandered votes, and it's not that, we want all those people to be able to, avoid non-necessary loss of life, even if they live in red states or counties.
No, yeah. I was trying to find my notes on this real quick because there's some things I want to let people know, or let them be aware of, that I'm not sure that everybody knows. But some of the cuts that I was speaking of, not only that, like that laboratory, or severe storms laboratory in Oklahoma, but the one in Miami, all right, which is a huge one that we have in Miami. So they're going to shut down all NOAA national labs. And the one in Miami is the AOML and the HRD one, and they're national severe storm laboratories that let us know, like, hurricane routes and tracks. Like, do we know if it's gonna turn? Do we know if it's gonna come right straight through the middle of the state? That's some of the cuts that's already taken into effect. August 1st. It was supposed to happen July 1st, but scientists complained enough to at least back it up back down to August. So at least we get, another month of, hurricane season tracking. But right at the peak of hurricane season is when we're going to start to see all this come into effect. And we're going to be fucked. Like, we're going to be fucked. I just not knowing, you know what I mean? If a hurricane is going to make that turn, at the last second or not, is crucial information to have and not to have. So I don't know. I mean, like you were saying earlier, right? People say, "Oh, I didn't vote for that." Like, you did. It was in Project 2025.
Yep.
Like, it really was. All
this
this
was all
was
in the
there.
roadmap.
Yeah.
Like going
go ahead.
after science in this way.
Sorry, yeah, I'm still going through my notes here for this, but it is like you 100% voted for this. It's my favorite thing to hear now. Whenever I hear somebody talk about this, or you hear the clips online, it's like, I didn't vote for this, and everybody's tearing up. All the Cubans for Trump. I didn't vote for this. Yes, you did. Like, and even if you couldn't vote, like, you definitely swayed a bunch of people in the thinking it's cool with you. Like, it's cool with you for me to vote for a racist rapist. You know what I mean? Like, you don't care. You're Spanish, you're brown, and you're singing Viva Donald Trump. So, all right, I'm cool with it too. Like, or you're not saying anything at all, which is wild to me. I don't know. That's another thing. Like, people, I'm not political. I can go on a rant about that for the rest of my life. Or I'm
not
scared.
Being
I don't know,
political
being
is
on
a
the
privilege.
fence. Yeah, huge. It's the best. Being able to live wherever you want, move wherever you do, whatever you want, and just not care about anything. Like, must be nice. I don't know.
Seriously.
Eddie, I'll let you guys kind of discuss these weather cuts a little bit more, and maybe if you want to go into the Texas thing, I want to try to find some other notes that I wrote down to kind of give people some stats here. But
yeah, Ross, do you have any thoughts?
Not really. I mean, it just sucks, right? Like, the only thing I can think of is how can we be solution driven in a situation like this, right? Like, okay, so clearly we're not going to what is it, NOAA, right? The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association is by the wayside at this point in terms of what it is that they can do to help us, right? As far as like prepare, or at the very least have an idea of what's going on. So what do? Do we turn to like the European models? Do we have like an international agency of sorts that can help warn us that we should be aware of? Like, those are the things that I think we should start thinking about. And also, I mean, that the real issue is that it's a result of so-called climate change, right?
Yep.
And I say so-called climate change rather, because the real name was global warming, but we don't like that. So, so then it's just about like, and that's been life, right? Okay, you adapt, but there's also like, hey, how can we stop these things from happening, or at least slow them down? Now we are not right. Like if you're talking about the average person, or at the very least the people who the faithful few who listen to this podcast, like what solutions do you have? It's really would be like weatherize your home and just find new sources of information so that you can be ready should something
have an emergency plan if you can.
Yeah.
And when you get warnings, just I would say be prepared for them to be worse.
Yeah.
So
I
like,
think,
I know, especially in Florida, it's so easy for, Floridians to be like, oh, this hurricane's going to be nothing. Like now, like even more so, like know that the news might actually not be as right as how bad it can be.
Right.
And, if you have to evacuate unnecessarily, that is a great sign instead of you not evacuating when you needed to. And
better safe than
paying
sorry.
the ultimate cost.
Yeah, I agree.
I just think there isn't like any new sources of information for this, because they are literally shutting all those down. Like that's the thing. The government is. I'm sorry, federal cuts.
Right. So
and all that stuff.
So clearly we're not going with NOAA, but NOAA's not the only one who's going to tell us that there's a hurricane coming to Florida.
No, they're not the only one that's going to tell you. Yeah, no, you're right. But they're the information that we really need, like the details, like if it's going to turn or if it's going to hit us. That's kind of what like NOAA does. I mean, also the 200 scientists. That's the other thing. 200 scientists that they're firing. That work on, in these laboratories, these weather labs and stuff like that. I mean, I guess if they start their own like social media page, you know what I mean, or whatever, and they still have the means to I don't know, to provide us with that information. I guess we can try to find that out, but it's gonna be. I don't know, man. It's going to be tough. I mean, 200 scientists firing 200 scientists that keep us in Florida. That is, I don't know. I do not want to get swept away in a hurricane here. Not now, not yet. Let me move out this state before we get hit by some catastrophic, storm or whatever, like Hurricane Andrew. I don't want to. I do not want to be here for that. Yeah, let me just. I mean, I don't know. It's not good. It's not good.
Not at all.
I know the last episode, our last guest was kind of trying to say, like, is the outrage justified or not? Like, yeah, I think the outrage is 100% justified. To feel this way, when things are when national weather labs are being shut down, concentration camps are being built. People are getting kidnapped off the street. Citizens, you know what I mean? Too. Nobody's got due process, and we're just okay with it. You hear that, and we're wrapping this up soon. We're gonna hit our shout outs here in just a second, but you hear the stories, or you want to ask questions like, was it that easy, right? Like you hear that question a lot. Was it that easy back in Germany, right? Was it that easy? Like it couldn't have been that easy, or there's no way people just stood by and let it happen. Well, we're like, it was super easy. We're watching it right now. We're seeing how easy it is for people to not care. So I don't know. I don't know how much longer this is going to be able to go. Like, how far is it going to get? I don't know. I hope it doesn't get that far. It's gone too far. I'll tell you that. It's gone far enough for me.
Unfortunately, we've got, 3.5 more years of Trump.
At least, right? We don't know what's going to happen. We'll get into that we'll talk about some of the other stuff, like the bill that just passed and whatever's in it in our next episode. But yeah, let's wrap it up on a sour note, like the way it is. I don't know, Ross, any final thoughts on anything that we've...
My thoughts are, we have to be solution driven, right? That's and I'm not, I mean, you just mentioned, right, that the Haitians were the first successful rebellion, but there were other rebellions that were unsuccessful. Some people started rebelling from the moment that they were snatched up. So it's just got to be solution driven. It suck to be in the situation we're in? Definitely. But what can we do, right? What can we do to make it better, right? We're talking about, we're talking about alligator Alcatraz. Okay, so then what can we do? It's not going to be something that's going to happen right now, right? Obviously, but what can we do so that down the line we can make sure that this doesn't happen or that it gets shut down? I think recently we had was it Hakeem Jeffries, right? Talk about was it Project 2026 or Project 2028, whatever. But it's like, my man, like this Project 2025 that people are talking about right now that we're in, that's something that's been in the works for years, right? And so there's got to be something similar happening in other circles. Like, what can we do to make sure that our stuff gets implemented? We can't just be out here all willy-nilly hoping for somebody else to take care of it. We just gotta, find like-minded folks, like I say all the time. Find like-minded folks and start planning. And then if this didn't work, fine, this didn't work. All right, let's see how these people who were successful did something. What did they do? How did they do it? Okay, let's go that route. NOAA's shutting down, fine. It's not a great thing. 200 scientists are going to be out of a job, true. But what other, because anytime you look at those models of a hurricane coming, right, you have like the American model, which is NOAA, and then you got like another 6. Figure out who these other 6 are. That's who we following from now on. You know what I'm saying? Like you just gotta solution driven, and start planning things out with people who think the way that you do. That's it.
Hopefully they'll still be able to share that information with us. You know what I mean? That was another part of that, the federal cuts, is having access to those other models as well, the information that they would share with us as well.
Now, when you said information they would share with us, you're talking about with the United States as
with
a
the
whole,
United States,
agencies.
No, with us, with the United States as a whole. You know what I mean?
So
With whoever.
So they wouldn't be allowed to send that information to CNN.
I don't know. Would CNN be able to have access to that information? Is what I'm
asking.
I
have access
don't
to
think
that
so.
Information right now.
Right now, until August 1st.
We'll be fine.
All right.
We'll be fine.
I feel you, Ross. I hear you.
We'll be okay on that end.
Brock, final thoughts on this real quick before we hit our shout outs.
Yeah, my final thoughts on this is just like, this as in like everything, just like, like I started with, take care of what you can take care of, focus on your locus of control. I was really depressed after the big bullshit bill passed on Thursday, and so I spent my morning on Friday before going to the cookout, doing a little solo cleanup of our rail trail here in the area. So I think the more that we have see these awful things in our government not care for each other, you just try to do more. And when it comes to storm season, if you're in Florida and worried about hurricanes, maybe it's not just, if you have the means, not just having the supplies necessary for you and your family, but maybe think about your neighbor as well, if there's somebody else who's not as lucky. And I think in this absence of empathy and care from the federal government side, us as individuals just need to step it up as much as we can. Fill that gap.
I like that. Oh man, I almost forgot. Rob, did you have a Get It How You Live for us real quick, or are we gonna roll out without? All right, yeah, we good. Get It How You Live collectively is this episode. We got to get it how we live with all the federal cuts. Yo, Brock, you're the guest. Hit us with some shout outs, my man.
Hey, my shout out would just be to my I think she'll definitely listen to this. At least she's listening to it right now. My dog Emma, I've been getting her on these walks lately. She's getting pretty demanding, but we're getting the dog demanding you to go outside for more walks.
Be demanding, Emma. Be demanding.
Exactly. So that's my shout out is to Emma, and then to my lovely partner Liv. She is about to, for those of you who've heard me on here before and know how crazy my upbringing is, we're about to and next month she's gonna, so she's in for a very
Hold on. What's
fun
happening next
trip.
month? She's doing what
My
now?
mom is getting remarried, and so my
Oh,
partner's coming down, and
nice.
it is going to be fascinating. So many stories are going to come out of that, I'm sure. Oh, they already have. Well,
All
for
right.
another episode.
Yes,
so.
100%. I got to hear all about this. This is gonna be good. Oh, this is gonna be good. Ross, give me some shout outs.
Well, first and foremost, we got to shout out Brock's mama.
Shout out to Brock's mom on the remarriage.
Yeah.
Hold up.
Definitely
I'm missing out right here. Here we go.
and then of course a shout out to the faithful few and the homie Rosie, who did not leave my side throughout this episode. Right here, Rosie, staring in their eyes. So
Rosie the Cat. That's what this episode is going to be.
Rosie's crushing.
Rosie the Cat. Is that a man? That's a girl, right? That's a girl cat.
First of all, Rosie is short for Roosevelt.
See, that's all.
So Rosie is a he. Don't be out here. You know what I'm saying?
My fault.
You out here questioning my man's gender. No. Yeah.
See, it can be whatever it wants to be. It can be whatever it wants to be.
He left. He's gone now.
Man, my bad, Rosie.
Yeah, these is my shout out. Shout out to Rosie. Shout out to Brock's mama. Mama Brock.
Mama Brock. I like Mama Brock. That'll work.
I appreciate it.
Mama Brock. Man, I got the regular shout outs. Long Shots bar over in the Four Corners area. Harold and Mo out there doing their thing. Shout out to LA Insurance and LA Realty, Charles and Ray. Shout out to Detroit Allen. That's what we're going to call him. Detroit Allen. Shout out to Detroit Al. Who else am I missing? Shout out to Todd. Shout out to Chris. And shout out to Saba. Shout out to Emily. She couldn't join us. She's floating down some river or something somewhere. Good for her, Good for her. She had to get out of DC. I don't blame her this weekend. Shout out to Ariel. Shout out to the FNF. Shout out to Parker. Who else? Shout out to Cass. Shout out to Ashley. Who else am I forgetting?
We gotta give a shout out to the OG producer, Paul.
Paul Wall, shout out to Paul Wall. Man, who am I missing anybody that I usually shout out? Because I got some special. I got a special shout out that I'm about to hit y'all with. Shout out to Rosie the Cat for joining us. And I also want to give on a more serious note, special shout out to 10 of the migrants that were held in detention and passed away. I think people need to know that because we don't have to wait for anybody to get sent to Alligator Alcatraz. They are dying right now. Citizens and non-citizens, people that have committed no crime except just being here and had their protective statuses taken away. 29-year-old Honduran held in Chrome Detention Center in Florida. That's Jerry Donaldo Ruiz Guillén. We've got 45-year-old Ethiopian held in Eloy Detention Center in Arizona. That was Sarawit Dejin. And I'm sorry if I'm saying some of these names wrong. We've got our 44-year-old Ukrainian held in Chrome Detention Center here in Florida. That was Maxim Cheryak. We've got 44 years old Dominican, died in San Juan in a hospital in Puerto Rico because they're snatching up people in Puerto Rico as well. Juan Alexis Tieno Martinez. Shout out to 27-year-old Colombian held in Phelps County Jail in Missouri. Brian Rayo Garzon. Shout out to a 55-year-old Vietnamese man held in El Paso facility in Texas. Man, I feel bad not knowing how to say his name, but it looks like it's Non Go Nguyen. Shout out to 44-year-old Haitian held in Broward Transitional Center in Florida. Marie Ange Blaise or Blaise. How would you say that, Ross? Blaise.
Blaise.
Blaise. Shout out to 68-year-old Mexican died during transport to Stewart Detention Center in Georgia. Abelardo, or was it Avellaneda Delgado? Avellaneda Delgado. Shout out to 49-year-old Canadian held in Miami Federal Detention Center in Florida, Johnny Noville. And shout out to 75-year-old Cuban held here Chrome Detention Center in Florida, Isidro Perez. If people don't think that this is serious and you're getting picked up off the street without due process, and then you're getting held in these horrible like detention centers with horrible conditions, and then you fucking die, like without anybody that you know around you. If you don't think like that's already happening, it's happening. Those are just the 10 that we know about. So my condolences go out to their family, and I'm telling you, people, if you don't care, you got to start caring, because it could be you, it could be somebody you know. I hope we can all learn something from our fellow Haitians and our Mexican brothers and sisters, and I hope we can all, like Ross says, come together with other like-minded people and come up with a plan and stop things like this from happening. I'll leave it at that, because I'm getting pretty upset about it, and it really sucks that you don't hear these names or anybody care about what's happening or care enough. Everybody's still going to the beach on 4th of July, right? You're hanging out with your friends because this didn't happen to you. You guys are cool. Like you're mad, people are mad and happy. Yeah, these migrants are getting picked up off the street. Blah, these criminals, right? Like y'all are criminals too. We're criminals. Like it could be you. I've done drugs with you in the office. You're a white person. I've seen you commit crimes. Would it be cool if someone is just like, nah, let's pick him up off the street. He's a criminal. That's it. Like, just think about that next time you see anything like this happening. If it's happening in your neighborhood, if it's happening on your street, on your block, if it's happening in your community, just think about that next time. Think about it long and hard, and then tell me if you shouldn't be outraged by any of that stuff. Anyway,
I got to talk. I got to tell what I
that's
feel.
all I got for you guys.
About my life as
Rock,
I see
thanks for joining me, man. Rock,
Well said, sir.
look, you have fun on your getaway there, your retreat. I like it. And yeah, Brock, we gotta hear about this wedding.
Oh, I got you. Don't you worry.
Next time, guys. All right.
Take care, y'all.
We're out, guys. Like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. I am bad at saying all that always because it sounds so corny coming from me. But what the deal is. Like, if you like it, holler. Peace.